We're live on YouTube, Rumble, X, about to be live on Rockfin. Hope you guys are having a good Friday afternoon. That little red button's clickable. We will get going. The special guest for you all today to talk to us about the aftermath of the election. There we go. Now we're good on Rumble or Rockfin. Excuse me. All right, let's do this. This is the Propaganda Report. I'm Brad Binkley. As I've told you guys, my expectation for this election was a couple of potential outcomes that I believed were likely to happen. One, they would tell us that Kamala won a close race in what would appear to be stolen to most of the country, which would cause internal division. That one did not happen. Or my second expectation, which has happened, was that they would allow Trump to win in a landslide without interfering much. And then afterwards, they would tell us that elections work now. They can be trusted. We can now put to bed the question of election integrity, which is exactly what Joe Biden said during his statement from the White House yesterday. So simply because Trump won this election in such large fashion, can we put to bed the question of election integrity? Is this proof that our elections can be trusted now? And can everyone who became so enthusiastic about election integrity and strengthening the system in November of 2020, can they now just drop the issue and focus their attention elsewhere? Here to talk about this today is the perfect man to give us insight on this subject, who has been fighting for election integrity since long before 2020, and I'm sure will continue to moving forward. The man, the myth, the legend, Voter GA's Garland Favorito. Garland, have you gotten your Handmaid's Tale dress yet?
No, not yet. Not yet.
All right, Trump's going to be sending those out to everybody as on day one, from what I hear. What are your thoughts on, so just before we dive into any of these questions, it's probably been a pretty hectic week for you. What's your instant reactions to the election?
Well, I think we talked about this on your show just before the election, and I had the same two scenarios that you did. It had to go one way or the other. Either she was going to win a close one, and then they're going to claim that everybody was crazy for questioning the election, like they did last time in 2020, or it could be a potential, I won't say a blowout, but a clear win. Let's say we've got cut and dried results for Trump, who happened to win all of the states that were in question last time. So that the second scenario came true. And what I thought was interesting is that every battleground state that he questioned last time, he won, and that was in when there was no cheating.
Yeah.
So that was Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada. So, and he's going to end up with more electoral votes than Joe Biden had, even with the cheat.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, that's how it seemed. It seemed that was going to be the obvious outcome to me if there was no messing with it. And I am a little surprised by the strong reaction that some people who are Democrats have, but I'm not surprised that they're not saying it was stolen, because it was such a big victory. And I think many people probably recognized that Kamala really didn't have much of a chance. What they're just saying now is we can't believe half or over half the country elected a Nazi.
Yeah,
it's what I've seen. People who are friends of mine in text message change are saying some pretty crazy stuff when it comes to that. So what do you see? Is there something we're not seeing here? Is there something kind of lying in wait that they might do moving forward before Inauguration Day?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that Donald Trump's got to be seriously protecting himself between now and Inauguration Day. I mean, I don't anticipate the deep state giving up that easily. So he's already had 2 assassination attempts against him.
Right.
Survived at least one of them by a clear miracle. And I think, and by the way, the other one, it turns out now, wasn't the Secret Service that thwarted it. It was local, phone calls, local call to local police that ended up thwarting that. because Secret Service.
Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, Secret Service didn't know he was there. By the way, I'm going to get off topic here, but Gabe Sterling said that that second assassination attempt, he tweeted, the second assassination attempt was not really an assassination attempt. It was just, it was an exchange of fire between two individuals. And the reason that all that happened was because the golf resort is in a high crime area. He actually
there's a lot of robberies, a lot of gunpoint robberies that happened there at the golf course down in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, he actually tweeted that. So,
Gabe Sterling was on 60 Minutes this past Sunday.
I heard about that.
State, telling us that he's confident that this will be the most secure election in American history, and I guess he can go around boasting that, which is what they are saying. Did you hear Biden say that we can now put to bed the question of election integrity?
I did. I was at the 3-minute mark of his speech.
He saw that as well. And
yes,
I was wondering about that because the Dominion voting machines are still in use. The rules that you guys passed as of now still are blocked and declared unconstitutional, like the hand counting of the ballot rules here in Georgia anyway. And all of the efforts to prevent election integrity and transparency they haven't been remedied, all of them. And I worry that just because Trump won in such large fashion, that is going to cause some people to kind of say, oh, yeah, they do work. Maybe even agree with Joe Biden because Trump won so large. But I see the problem still being there and able to be manipulated in the future in case they need it. And when I think back on this right here, this Davos agenda of rebuilding trust in the future, which they've been talking about this since 2021, I see if that happens, and that can create this illusion of trust that people have, which might make it easier for them to steal it in the future with what they have in place. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, I don't think our people are buying into it.
That's good.
We've got a ton of stuff left to do. By the way, I did get 2 rules passed to detect that QR code ballot rejection problem that caused Tennessee to discontinue use of the Dominion Democracy Suite 5.5 system. But we're finding out now a lot of the counties did not do the reconciliation that was required, which was simply to reconcile the tabular tape ballot scanner count, ballot scanner counts with the tabular tape ballot counts. So that, and not doing that, they can't detect the error. So that's a real issue. So I'm probably going to have to file some kind of a complaint to get them to actually do what the state election board required them to do.
And so that's what we need is the watchdog effort, and what you guys are doing. I know that you're going to stay on top of it, is that enthusiasm to continue making sure the elections are secure and doing these things that you guys have been doing. Do you think that the enthusiasm, because going to the state elections board meeting, there's a line out the door. You got to get there at 7 a.m., like 2 hours before it starts to get on the public comment list because of all the activists and all the attention coming to it. I'm guessing that wasn't how it was 10 years ago at these board meetings. I'm guessing there were less people.
That's right.
So I'm wondering if the amount of enthusiasm can be maintained, because much of that enthusiasm came from Trump losing in 2020, outside of you guys who were already doing it. I just hope people can see that even though their guy won, doesn't mean the system isn't still flawed. And if they can maintain that level of scrutiny, then I think people could be in pretty good shape.
Yeah. So there's a lot of emphasis on, well, first of all, there's been a steady stream at the state election board probably for the last, 4 or 5 years. But there's a lot of emphasis that we have on unplugging the machines. We're not giving up that. And also to clean up the voter rolls. The voter rolls are a mess, and it's very risky. We know that they are basically stuffing ballots for ineligible registrations, and we've got to get those ineligible registrations off the file. So I think most of our folks know that. We've got a lot of folks, and they're going to be remain active. We know we're going to pass some more legislation, we hope, in the next session. And The state election board is going to have a meeting on November 18th, as I understand it. And I'd be willing to bet that you'll have hundreds of people show up and dozens making public comments about future needs in regards to election integrity.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what both sides. I wonder if the activists on the other side of that will come too, and will make the argument about, you guys said everything was broken, but look, your guy won. Now you don't question. Now you don't question the election. Now it's a perfect election. I just wonder if we'll see, because I've seen them trying to push that narrative a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see where that debate goes.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to show up. I mean,
so you think they won't? I bet they're sending out their new indivisible guide on how to stop Hitler, which they do. They used to do this in 2016 through 2020. Every couple months, they'd send, here's what we're doing today to stop Hitler. And it's this long guide full of scripts and direct action things. So you think that they won't be sending their people there?
I think we're going to see a reduction on their side, because they peaked there for a while with almost as many people as the election integrity folks had. Yeah. But I don't think we're going to see that again. I think you're going to see like maybe a half a dozen or a dozen folks there. I don't think you're going to see that mass turnout that they had for a couple of meetings back a month or two ago.
Yeah, they'll be shifting more towards handcuffing themselves to chairs inside congressman's office and lying in the street and doing die-ins, maybe like they did when they started the resistance after 2016, if they continue that same strategy. Are there any races that you guys are focusing on that you think were tampered with?
Yeah, well, not in Georgia so much, but there is the U.S. Senate race in Wisconsin where Tammy Baldwin was losing, and suddenly she was winning after ballots came into Wisconsin, somewhere in the Milwaukee area. So there's a lot of focus on that particular race, and a lot of the down ballot races in other states started flipping. So there are a lot of concerns still, but they're mostly on the other state. We've come out pretty clean in Georgia as far as we know.
Yeah, that's what it looks like from my perspective too, and all that buildup. That's why it just seemed like they were making it seem so obvious that they were going to steal it, that as it got closer and closer, I'm just like, I think it's going to be a landslide, and I think they're going to use that to say that elections are perfect. So I'm glad to hear that the effort, the enthusiasm is staying strong. Do you feel, as Kamala and Biden promised, do you feel that there will be a peaceful transfer of power to Hitler?
Well, I think
which is what they say. I'm kidding when I say that, but it's like he's Hitler, but there will be a peaceful transfer of power.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a peaceful transfer on their part. Again, what I'm concerned about is what deep state activities are going to take place between now and Inauguration Day. I mean, he's a real threat. Donald Trump is a real threat to the deep state. And the deep state is not, they don't think twice about, quite honestly, knocking people out, but typically that's in other countries, not in our own country. Although we have to, make some exceptions there for JFK, as well as Ronald Reagan.
You think there was a conspiracy around the JFK assassination?
Me and about 200 million other Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I used to research that pretty deeply, and I knew most of the researchers in the country who looked into that and wrote books on it. And virtually every one of them, to a T, all agreed that the CIA had a hand in the assassination. And that some of them believe, maybe that the CIA had total control of it, and others believe that they played a key role. But everyone agrees that the CIA was involved in the assassination. The only question is to what degree. And then you've got their fingerprints on the Reagan assassination on top of that.
Yeah, I think they've got a lot of fingerprints on a lot of assassinations around the world with some of their activities. I could see some false flag type activity going down to make it look like these things that people fear about Project 2025 and Trump, which are absolutely ridiculous, might actually happen. For example, this is probably not this extreme, this won't happen, but one of these ladies I spoke with, who was probably 75 years old at one of these rallies I went to pretending to be a white dude for Harris, genuinely believed, she told me, that if Trump wins, that Trump is going to round people like her, a 75-year-old white woman, up. Day one, I went the blacks, the Jews, and the 75-year-old white woman in internment camps. It's the most ridiculous thing. She had a folder of places she was ready to flee to because she was so afraid, because she had been so propagandized into doing that. Other people apparently feel that way too, based on what I've seen in the reactions from some of my friends. And it's these fears that aren't real. If they have problems with some of Trump's appointments, or maybe Mike Pompeo, or maybe some of his relationships internationally, those might be more valid things to talk about. But to say that on day one, he's going to round up 75-year-old white women, blacks, and Jews, it is absurd. But I can see some false flag activity framing Trump supporters doing something like that, like bad to people, like racist activity or something like that, to say, see, they feel emboldened now, and Nazis actually are spreading across the country. Am I off base on that? Or do you think that's something they might consider?
Well, that was probably our greatest fear, that some kind of disruption would occur as a result of impersonating MAGA people.
Yeah.
So, and of course, you saw some of that in the January 6th at the Capitol. I forget what the FBI undercover guy was.
Yeah, right.
And it's the name's running a blank right now. But you saw, and then they've destroyed a lot of records. They haven't been able to be forthcoming about that event. So who knows? It could happen again. I wouldn't be too surprised.
Right. And with these people that are kind of have these hardened, like create the Bolshevik army, they're going to get the people through activism who will do the most radical things based on whatever the fear or aspiration, and they can also get this small group of people. And I've seen this narrative emerge, who are directing their blame and anger towards Trump supporters instead of just Trump. Even there was somebody at MSNBC yesterday who said the segment was this: F around and find out. Trump people who voted for Trump don't realize what they've done to not just them, but all of us. Now they effed around and they're going to find out. And the segment then opened with a guy saying that we need to make sure we don't let people who voted for Trump off the hook. That it's not just Trump; it's your next door neighbors who you now all of a sudden realize that your values are in the minority, progressives. And this is what they were saying, and that the majority of people around you are basically like Nazis who supported Hitler. And that, to me, is psychological warfare to try and direct anger and potentially violence towards voters from people who are so propagandized by their Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, and people believe this, and that's the amazing part about it. A lot of young college kids, kind of buy into that scenario, which, right. Makes you wonder.
Yeah, well, a lot of young people too went for Trump. I was telling you a little bit before the show about all these funny things that some of these schools are doing. Like Oregon they're letting students like skip class and come see Quacktivist, the therapy duck, so they can grieve is what they say. And Harvard is letting all the students, they put out a memo saying, you don't have to come to class. You don't have to take the quizzes that we had set up. We know you're grieving. And then the Harvard articles shifted to talk about the one Republican group there who was just going around town and who's going to be so much more vocal now, rubbing it in the face of everybody who's grieving. It's such a victim mentality. You know what I mean? It's treating everybody like who grieves after an election. It's a psychosis that they're trying to amplify, I feel like. And I don't know what their next move is, but something's coming up the wire.
Yeah, I grieved a little bit after I saw all that fraud in the last election. So, but I mean, I know I'm just fascinated that I know they would not have given a day off to any of the students if the election had gone the other way around.
No, of course not.
So I just think that's absolutely bizarre that a college campus could do that with a straight face,
right?
And the kids think that that's okay. That's a good thing to do.
So what are they going to do in the workplace every time something that they don't like happens on a national level? I'm grieving because there was a news story I didn't like. I need to take the week off.
Yeah, it's I can't even conceive of it. I've even heard some folks that some of the kids that are saying that, oh, sorry, they put on their Instagram chat that you voted for Trump. I'm disowning you. Don't ever unfriend me. I'm never going to speak to you again.
It's crazy. I'm half expecting texts like that after seeing some texts I got in some group chats. I wasn't even participating. I was just reading what they were saying. They were true. I mean, these are good friends of mine who are smart. They're nice people, but they truly believe that America, I think a Christo white nationalist nation, I think one of them said we're going to become, and that we've just screwed over blacks and women for the rest of our lifetime. And I'm like, what world are you living in?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's think about that for a minute. So now Trump got like 3 times more black vote than any Republican candidate ever has. He had a whole MAGA black organization, and he also funded the HBCUs at a level that is unprecedented in American history. I mean, even for Obama, but more than Obama would do for the HBCUs. So that's one thing that on the black side, and then what was the other thing you mentioned just now?
Women.
Oh, the women, the women thing. So I did a little bit of it. So let's think about that for a second. So the women, so that means they want their daughters to have to compete against guys in college sports and dress and undress with them in the locker room, being forced to do that. That's, I don't get that. And then you've got the case of the woman Sherry Peoples and Shay Peoples in California, where her daughter had sickle cell anemia, and Kamala Harris arrested her mom for truancy while her daughter was in the hospital maintaining an A average, and she couldn't go to school. She was actually, her mother was actually arrested.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. And then you have the case of the Loudoun County father whose daughter was raped in a girl's bathroom by a boy who was allowed to be there. And he went to the school to complain about that. And they had him arrested. And the Biden administration called him a domestic terrorist.
Oh,
I mean,
right, yeah.
So is that their idea of women? Where the only one that's standing up for these women is Trump. So I'm not getting this all this.
It doesn't match with reality. They're fed this version of reality that's so out of touch. They're not experiencing these things for themselves at all. They're simply being programmed to believe they're happening to other people. And they're sitting at home and being surrounded by the MSNBC screen, and they're getting these activist emails every few hours. I mean, they send these things out every few hours, and it's crazy that the people that I know were sending me these messages, and they were actually talking to each other in this group chat we were in, but they were saying verbatim what was coming from these activist emails and out of Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow's mouth. And I'm reading these, I'm like, do they realize that they've absorbed this and they are regurgitating it? Because they seemed truly angry and upset that Trump won. I don't think they were just trying to spread a talking point, which sometimes people do knowingly do that. I think they had just absorbed it and not even given a critical thought to the reality they can actually touch versus the reality that they're being told is real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what it shows is the degree of psychological programming that our kids have had to endure, and they don't even know it.
Right. Like this here. Thank you, Stoner. We appreciate that. Stoner donated $1 here. He said he donated it for the White Nationalist Nazi Flag Fund. I thank you. That be putting together a fund for that. We'll have that up on the back wall, I'm sure. I shouldn't even joke about that, while Biden's still in office. They could start rounding people up. So you see the not from Drudge here. This is what I'm talking about. 1 in 5 Americans do not think Hitler was all bad. Nazi takeover plot suspects arrested in German police raids. Trying to create that atmosphere of Nazis are real. You can see they just elected someone to power. You better, maybe they'll start advocating for gun rights. You better have your guns ready, which that's fine if they, as long as they don't start randomly shooting people. But when Trump was, or when people started saying the garbage thing, everybody started saying, oh, I'm a garbage. Yeah, I'm voting for garbage. I'm garbage, kind of like the deplorable thing from 2016. I was so glad that Biden put that out there that Trump supporters could then embody, because the thing they were ironically starting to embody, they were making jokes on social media before garbage was put out there. It was Nazi. It was, oh, this is the best Nazi rally ever. I'm with the Nazi. I mean, people were obviously joking, but we know that the other side doesn't interpret things as jokes when they can interpret them literally and use them to maybe, hey, FBI here, we see that you admitted to being a Nazi on Twitter. We're going to round you up. I'm very happy that people started saying we're garbage instead of saying the Nazi joke. And anything that said, so I think these next couple of months, if there is to be something done, I don't know that there will be, but that would be the time to be cautious about joking about Nazis, even though I do it all the time.
Well, speaking of the garbage thing, I think, did we ever get the transcript on that? I heard they cut that comment out of the transcript.
Well, what they did was they put an apostrophe before his supporters. So the question that they raised, or the argument they were trying to make, was that Trump was not saying supporters as plural. He was saying supporters as in Tony Hinchcliffe's, his supporters apostrophe, his comment. So they were saying that Biden was just talking about what the one guy said. So they added the apostrophe. Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's possible, but either way, it was a gift for people who were joking a little too hard about Nazis on social media to have the garbage distraction. Let's see here. Okay, so what you said, you guys still have some measures you're going to be. You got the meeting coming up, and you're pushing forward. Are there any big events coming up that you guys are going to be doing?
Well, we'll have our Christmas party December 13th.
All right,
that's probably our next big event. Election board meeting is November 18th.
Where's the Christmas party? I think I went to one a couple of years ago.
Yeah, December 13th. Yeah, well, you actually hosted one of them one year.
That's right. Yeah,
about 2-3 years ago. Yeah. Back in that back corner of Brimstone.
I remember
corner.
that.
You interviewed me and Aviva, and I think you had a good time.
There's a lot of dancing going on, that's for sure. A lot of dancing, a lot of good music.
Yeah, we'll probably have a lot of dancing this time too, I guess.
I know you will. I'll have to check that out. Stoner wants to have a Fat Shack Christmas party. He's a big fan of Fat Shack. You ever eaten at Fat Shack, Garland?
Oh, Matt's. Is that Matt's? Fat Maps. I'm thinking of Fat Maps Rib Shack.
Yeah, it's a little different than that. There's one up here in Woodstock, and he's in Colorado, so there's some in Colorado as well.
He's going to fly into for that.
Yeah, we'll fly into the Christmas party within our Handmaid's Tale outfits, and we'll dance while it's still legal. It'll be the last. Dancing will no longer be legal when Trump takes office, so everybody's going to dance very, very hard.
Yeah.
What do you expect? What are your expectations? Do you have expectations for Trump's presidency? Worries, hopes?
First of all, let's hope he staffs the the cabinet and the people, surrounds himself with people who are better than the people that he did before. I think that he's had difficulty in being misled by some folks, but I think that this experience that he's gone through, I think will make him all the wiser. I think that he'll have a much better cabinet than he had the first go around, and much better people surrounding him, people that he can trust. He was betrayed by so many folks. It wasn't funny.
Right. I mean, they've all gotten rich too off of writing books about their time.
Yeah. I would like to see. I'd like to see him bring Mike Flynn back, and because Mike Pence was kind of a key player in getting Mike Flynn out right at the very beginning. I think that was a death blow.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a death blow to his administration right off the bat. And then, very disappointed in the CIA. I was disappointed in Mike Pompeo. He just really wasn't, didn't do the job at the CIA that he should have. Of course, he was only there, in fairness to him, a little bit of time. But, they've got a lot of issues. The FBI, as you know, has tremendous issues. And he's going to have to really get somebody in there to clean house. I think RFK Jr. will do a great job on the human side, whatever role he plays. I'd like to see Tulsi as Secretary of State. That'd be kind of cool. But
yeah, she has to wear a bathing suit though.
Huh?
She has to wear a bathing suit. She doesn't get the Handmaid's Tale. She gets the USA, like what's the one Congress. See the images of the one Congress woman who used to be a MAGA bathing suit model. We need to see more of that.
Yes. And I forget who that was.
Luna something.
Yeah.
Thank you, JC, for the tip there.
Della Luna. Yeah, that's right. She is Paula Luna.
Yes, that's right.
Paula Luna. She's still in the House.
Yeah. And I think that I totally support her expressing herself any way she wants. JC says, thanks for all the great work this election, Brad and Garland, and gave us a $10 tip. We appreciate that, JC. Have you seen the odds for the 2028 race yet?
No, I haven't even gotten over this one. That's the last thing on my mind.
They already got the odds out there because that one guy made all that money betting against the media on Polymarket. This guy made like $50 million. I mean, he put a lot of money in, but just betting that Trump would win both the electoral and the popular vote. And the dude made like $50 million because he's like, the polls are BS, they're lying. So I'm going to put all this money on Trump to win all of it. Which that's what gets me about people whose attention is being directed towards people who voted for Trump, and their anger directed towards them instead of their anger being directed towards the people who spun them up by lying to them, telling them there was enthusiasm for Kamala, telling them that the polls were a dead heat when it's just going out and talking to people. You went to a bunch of events. I went to a bunch of events in multiple states throughout the months, and it was very, very obvious to me there was no enthusiasm for Kamala. But these people have been lied to, and instead of rethinking the information they're getting, they're taking more information from the people that lied to them and letting them direct them against other American citizens and put the blame on their neighbors.
Well, sometimes you see candidates that have no enthusiasm win because of the voting system. So, which is another reason we need to get rid of it. So I've seen that happen more than once, and I'm still shaking my head over some of these races that have occurred over the last 10, 20 years.
Well, it's crazy that you got to have a good PR campaign. A good PR campaign is going to win just about anything. You create a phony backstory for somebody. You wipe their history from the internet, which has become more and more difficult to find actual history on Google specifically now. And then you create a new persona that fits whatever working class or whatever group you're trying to target, whatever identity group. And then they just, if they're a good performer and they can play the role well, And if the media has the right infrastructure set up for them, they can be the dumbest person on the planet and win. The most unqualified. It's crazy. It's like the Stacey Abrams and the AOCs of the world. They're activists. They're basically trained actors who know how to agitate.
Yeah, yeah. It's scary that the news media has that much power.
Yeah, and so they're going to rethink their efforts. So this is another thing with the trust building that we were talking about the other day, is this whole Davos agenda of we need to rebuild trust in the institutions of democracy, which is why I think what you're doing is even more important now that Trump's won than when people like in 2020 leading up to this. The fact I think Trump should still be talking about how he won the 2020 election. I wish he would have got up there when he did his speech and said, I want to start by saying 2020 was stolen from me, just to reemphasize that the system doesn't, just because he won doesn't mean everything is fixed, and because they want people to not look at that anymore. They want the attention off that, and they want to be able to use it again in the future. And they also want to transform the media into something that more resembles Joe Rogan and all the attention they got. So they're going to be bringing on influencers. They're going to be bringing on podcasters. They're going to be trying all kind of new stuff after seeing that they've lost a lot of relevance. And it's going to be interesting to see what the media looks like over the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I would expect that they're going to have to come up with something really, really new.
Right. They'll start having guys in T-shirts and baseball caps instead of in suits and stuff, like all podcasters do. They'll have weird backgrounds and try to make it seem a little less produced, which they've actually done that before to try and create more authenticity. And I was reading this article in Rolling Stone that all these media executives were like, yeah, we're going to bring in influencers. We're going to try we're going to try and do what the Joe Rogans are doing. And I just don't think they're going to be able to do it. Chris Cuomo kind of tried to do a show from his basement a couple times.
I remember that.
It just doesn't seem.
Yeah.
I maybe some people will buy it. I am a little surprised about what some people bought this election cycle, but the media they're just the worst.
Yeah. And I do think that Trump will start talking about 2020 again now that the election's over. I think he was focused on building coalitions and that sort of thing. But I believe that, his administration is going to make a sincere effort to bring integrity back to the election. So that will require him to speak more about it.
I hope that would be fantastic. That is one of the most important issues, in my opinion, and I would hate to see it get swept under the rug just because it was such a large victory. So looking at 2028, then we can get out here. We can see if there's any unexpected potential candidates based on, this is a betting market called Betfair. So their odds for 2028, they say is a 22% chance that Vance wins the presidential election. He is just ahead of Michelle Obama. Wow. A Vance-Michelle Obama race. That would be entertaining for sure. You got Gavin Newsom coming in third there, followed by Ron DeSantis. Then Hillary Clinton at 11-1 odds. You think Hillary might make a comeback?
That's hard to imagine.
How old is she now?
Older than dirt. I can't remember.
She's not much younger she's a little bit younger than Trump. And they got Tucker Carlson at 12-1 odds, Tulsi Gabbard at 14-1, Oprah Winfrey at 20-1. I'm not taking that one. They don't even have Kamala Harris in there. So Kamala Harris has 40-1 odds.
Huh. Yeah, that would be interesting.
I don't think they're going to go back to Kamala.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No. That would be, there's no real reason to.
I always thought Michelle Obama was the better performer. She's a better speaker, got a bigger dick, knows really how to swing it around. I thought she could have really done well against Trump.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was wondering if you meant Michelle or Michael. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know why she doesn't just own that. She'd get a standing ovation. She could still go into all the women's locker rooms. It wouldn't matter. She could play all the women's sports, even if she told everybody what she was. Who knows? Garland, thanks for coming on the show on such short notice. I wanted to get your after election thoughts on just where election integrity is going, and I feel optimistic after talking to you because I know you're going to keep doing the work. And is there anything that people can do to help you guys moving forward?
Yeah, thanks, Binkley. So again, it's voterj.org. We're nonpartisan, nonpartisan nonprofit, and we're going to have to do a lot more work. So you can still join by going to voterj.org volunteer tab or texting the word truth to 404. I just had a memory dump. 404-777-0067. That's our and there's no obligation to join. There's no dues. There's nothing like that. You don't have to do any work, but you can get an invitation to call and get more informed about what's going on, and what we're planning, what we're up to, and again, as I always like to say, neither Tim or I take a salary from VoterJ. We are an all volunteer organization, and we've been able to survive off of donations from patriots that basically watch your show and some other shows.
Well, you guys have done a great job, and the attention that you brought to the 2020 election and all the problems, the real evidence that you showed, and your tireless effort, it is the reason that I think they have to stay away from such an obvious steal. Now they might, like I said, they're trying to leave it open for potential future steals, but you definitely made an impact. Yeah,
thanks. And we had so many things going on, great legislative changes. State election board flipped and helped us out, but a lot of it was volunteers on the ground. We had eyes on everything that we could get eyes on, and our many folks are now state or county election board members. We probably have about 18 election integrity advocates in county election board positions. So
that's awesome.
That is just huge. So we're really thankful for all that went down.
All right, Garland, thanks for joining. Thanks for all your hard work. Groby says, nicely done, Garland, keeping them honest. Stoner says, thank you for your time and insight today, Brad and Garland. A lot of people really, they respect the work that you guys have done, Garland. So thank you for your effort, and thank you for joining me today.
All right. Well, thank you, Binkley. It always helps us so much when you're always getting the word out for us.
I try to, and I'm honored to be able to have you on because I see you talking to Steve Bannon nowadays. You're talking to Mike Lindell, and I'm like, Garland still comes on the show and talks to us, and I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, I'll always do that. Yeah, yeah. We did some Worldview Tube election coverage Tuesday night, so that was kind of fun because that show was dedicated more towards election integrity. So
yeah, well, that's cool. I should show you something. Before we got here, I forgot about this. We actually had a special guest pop in on our election night stream. I was totally taken by surprise. I had no idea that President Trump was going to be showing up.
I had a feeling that he was going to show up.
Yeah, he came in at the end of the night and he sat in my lap like I was Santa Claus. It was taken aback, but very, very honored.
Well, that we didn't have anybody like that, so you've got to. I think you take the cake on that.
That's right. All right, guys. Propagandafight.com is the website. We'll do it again soon. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for joining us, Garland. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right.